This week on Fade to Obsidian, we will be discussing chapters 1 through 17. We recommend that you have also read to this point in the book to avoid spoilers. Be aware that this episode contains discussion about violence and death, as well as strong language. Listener discretion is advised.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Fade to Obsidian, where we talk about ships from the Red Rising universe, both relation and space. I am your host, Crescent, joined as always by my co-host, Skipper. And
Hello.
today we are joined by Alcatraz. Welcome,
Hello.
Alcatraz.
Welcome, Alcatraz. Thanks
Howdy,
for coming.
Yeah. Hopefully we're not gonna get too much sunset action happening through the window, but
yeah,
it's fine.
yeah. It'll be a casual, just it'll look great.
I'll just
It'll
be
fun.
sitting here and fading to obsidian, and then we'll cut to black. It'll be great.
Perfect.
That's totally
On
fine.
point.
That's exactly how it's
Yeah.
supposed to go.
Yeah. So who are you, Alcatraz? Alcatraz, and what are you drinking?
Well, I am actually secretly like 17 corn stalks in a trench coat because I am from the grand
Ooh.
state of, Ohio, where everything is just corn and terrible. But I have been in the den since the back and all. I like snuck in there when Salem posted the link and then proceeded to like lurk in the bushes through like the howler questionnaire out there and then just like disappeared. And so Salem had the one question on there of like, are you an introvert or an extrovert? Like, what do you do with your feelings? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I treat them like the visitor center at Alcatraz. You either get to have them or they do not exist. And that was apparently the part of my like Q&A that she thought was funny. And then I am drinking hard seltzer because much like Lysander, it was left in my fridge and now I have to deal with it. They're not particularly good, but somebody's got to do them.
Perfect.
I'll be suffering here.
Love that.
I love it.
Well, you guys drink better alcohol.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what do you have, Crescent?
I have Elements of Isla Lafroig blend.
Oh.
The Scotch.
And I have Aberfeldy, which is a Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. There you go, which I just cracked.
Cheers.
Yeah.
To a new book.
Cheers. Cheers
Yeah.
to the new book. New
10-year time skip. Good God.
Yes. What we used to call the second trilogy, and now is a quadrilogy. Quadrilogy. That's a real word.
Yep. Technically.
Technically.
And avoid saying it.
Yes. Yeah, we get 10-year time skip. Lots has happened, and at the same time, we're expected to kind of just pick up where we left off in a bit.
Re-know all of our characters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
we get to learn a lot more about people that we
Alcatraz, when you first read Morning Star, was Iron Gold announced?
I think
or
that
out?
I think I read Morningstar and that was the end, and then I was rereading them and happened to be like looking for shit on the internet, as one does, and realized that Iron Gold was like out the next month or something.
Oh, okay.
So I was able to like kind of wrap up and put the trilogy away, and then well, there's new stuff, and then the new stuff is different, and I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah. I finished Morning Star, and then I only had about a week because I remember we discussed this last episode of the day before I saw him in Toronto, so it had probably been 2 weeks since Morning Star had come out, and I did read it in like the 2 days or whatever. They announced the day before he was in Toronto that Iron Gold was coming out, so I only had kind of those 2 weeks of like, oh, what a perfect little ending. Isn't that so cute for our perfect little family? And then had that year of waiting of like, so what's coming next for our perfect little family? Yeah. And then Chris and you
Turns
pretty
out,
much read it
pain.
back to back.
Only
Pain!
pain
Who'd have
forever.
thought? Yeah, Chris
then
and
we
you were
get,
pretty much back to back, right?
Yeah. I think it was basically the same situation as Alcatraz. It was either just out recently when I finished the first trilogy, or it was just like a week or two from coming out. I can't quite remember.
Because I just looked, it's like 2018, so I was like rereading Morningstar like in the new house, and then could walk to the library to go get Iron and Gold.
Ooh, love it.
Oh, cute.
We love a library in walking distance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Gotta
great.
go hazard bed limit, claim it as my territory.
Hell yeah. Is there red on
Do it.
the library?
Yes,
Well,
I could
get
just
after
stick it on the sign, and no one will know.
Yep.
How's Rust? Yeah, I was actually lucky. So mine was not the full year because I do have. I'll put my bragging out there that I did get this in the November as the advanced reader copy, and I remember it arrived at the store and I fully screamed in somebody's face to get their hands off of it because someone had opened my package, not realizing like, oh, it had your name on it, and then had like resealed it, being like, sorry, opened your mail because we don't normally get mail. And I was like, oh my god, like, how dare you?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there you go.
Cool.
Signed.
So was there much difference or any?
I don't know, because now that we've been having this discussion about the differences, and if you've watched, so the Glittering Gala came out in between. That was the last thing we've recorded for people watching this. There is an episode that we'll have released that was recorded before, but during the Glittering Gala, we were discussing the differences in copies and editions that come out from the advanced reader copy to Iron Gold. I don't remember there being a difference, but now I kind of want to read through and see. There's usually when they get printed up in this official looking version.
Yeah, I would imagine they're pretty much
They've
finalized.
ironed out almost everything. Like, it's very rare. It usually has a disclaimer in it of like, if you find a spelling error, tell us, and then you do it, and they're like, well, too late.
Got it already.
Like, yeah. So I don't remember there being any errors in that one. But now that we're talking about it, I should reread because we know my brain is not the greatest. But yeah,
Come back to us. Come back to us, Skip.
Yeah. Let's jump into. Oh, there's a cat.
Sweet baby.
Don't touch the microphone.
A murder in her eyes.
There we
In
go.
the free show.
Yeah. So let's jump into our now 4 points of view, but it does in fact start out at least with a little bit of consistency, and we get Darrow right off the front.
Well, I mean, first we get
Yeah.
that little the vignette of the fall of Mercury and
Yes.
Yeah.
Aja nuking the planet or whatever she does, murdering everyone. Then the Iron Rain. That is why Darrow is back on Luna to go to trial for war crimes.
Yes.
Because there is no Geneva Convention in the Republic, apparently.
There's no Geneva Convention in space. Put that on a
Geneva's
t-shirt.
on
See how
Earth.
they're not
Leave it
bad
there.
selves. Yeah.
The rules of warfare do not translate to space from maritime.
No.
Yeah.
No, it was all written in a language. It's probably a dead language now.
Yeah, they've said that English is a dead language. So, or
is the Geneva Convention only written in English?
No, it would be in everything that was
Yeah.
World War One, but they're all probably dead languages. I can't see that if English survives, that like French,
Yep.
Spanish, or German survives.
To be honest, they probably said this is some democratic horseshit, and we're just not going to have this.
Yeah, that's probably exactly it. Of like, they could have done so many bigger things if we had. It was probably, I bet you, the Conquering.
Yeah, well,
during the
Conquering,
like
I'm
700 years ago, they were like,
to the
we're
victor
not
goes
abiding by
spoils.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you win the Conquering, you get to write the rules, and the rules say we can nuke civilians. Apparently.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, they probably now use the Geneva Convention as like suggestions.
Yeah,
of
maybe
how to commit war
don't
crimes.
don't do that.
Yeah.
But like, if you do, it's fine. No one's gonna know.
I was
If you
no,
do,
no,
you're
I
not
was
the
thinking of
first.
like you're not the first. I was thinking more of a like, oh, that's a great idea that they used to do. Why did they
Yeah,
have all that?
what a good idea to demoralize the populace.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's great.
handbook for enslaving a population.
Yeah,
Gaslight them for 500 years and see what happens.
gaslight them all.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
back on
Darrow's
the no.
back from. Yep, Darrow's back from some war crimes to answer to um what's happening.
Yes, and we get our third uh telling of Darrow that he's a mortal. He is but a mortal
Mhm.
at his triumph.
Yeah.
And this time it's Severo.
Ah. Yeah, I think in this one we're seeing a lot of them start, and it's interesting. We have a whole debate about how so they're early 30s, mid
Mhm.
30s at this point. Victra's probably late 30s, early 40s, because slightly older, and their lifespans are older, but we're seeing that they're feeling it. I think they're they understand that they are aging, and we start to get that from not just other people telling them, but
Mhm.
I think especially Severo and later we'll see Victra seem to be the two that are kind of really in this, like,
Yeah,
we
they're
still
like
doing
over the
this.
war and they want to just
Yeah.
go and have their family and not
Yeah,
be in
exactly.
peril.
Yeah.
And Darrow just can't let go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Which it
we roll up for the triumph. There's some political intrigue or whatever, and
yes.
then dinner at the sovereign's mansion.
At Silene Manor.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
And
we get a little bit of domestic Darrow.
Hmm.
yes, I was gonna say we get kind of all of our favorites in their domestic, and we see the difference as what we can all kind of expect of Darrow and Mustang versus Victra and Severo on their
Right.
greetings. Um,
Just disappear for 45 minutes. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it.
it's our first fade to obsidian moment of the whole
Yep.
the whole book.
Hmm.
And
Here's
it's
on like
violent.
page 10. Yes, as you would expect from 7-month pregnant Victra.
Yep.
It is like pretty depressing that the chapter for this whole like dinner and like reunion with the family is just called the fantasy because it's just
Yeah.
immediately going to be ripped away from us
Yeah.
Yeah.
and back to where we go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting, but we are also seeing, Darrow with his son. We get last
Mhm.
time we saw
Yeah,
Pax was only being held
Mhm.
by Darrow's mom. We never even really see him actually interact with his own son, and now we see what that looks like 10 years later, where Pax seems to be a little standoffish from dad.
Yeah, because he's what,
yeah,
10 at this point and hasn't seen his dad for a year and a half.
Yeah.
yeah. We get the scene with Severo and Darrow hiding in the bushes betting on
Whose
Electra
kid is
and
better.
Pax fighting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Which
Which
Electra does win, which is pretty funny.
yep.
You figure she's got it. Like with the I know
Hmm.
technically Pax has got well, I don't know how genetics work. Like how much I don't I don't know how that works of like how much DNA that Darrow can carry over that would be like, hey, I'm this great warrior. Like I don't know. That's a but the other question.
Hmm.
And so technically Pax does you'd think have some DNA, but maybe not. But
Yeah, and they are,
Electra's gonna
mostly.
have Electra's gonna have the fight dirty DNA.
Oh,
Like she's gonna
absolutely.
have the
And
like cutthroat and the true like the
yeah,
Julii genetics, as we hear all the time in Morningstar. That Julii genetics, like
Yeah.
and they're being raised by their mothers, who Mustang is the Politico, and Victra will slit your throat if you look at her wrong.
The
So
warmonger.
yeah, Electra's
Yeah.
definitely gonna develop some mommy issues.
Yes.
The
Yes.
issue being that she can never catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's doing her damnedest though.
Yeah. And yeah, then we get more of the Telemanus family, who
We
are just
love.
all perfect at all times. We
Oh,
stand the
yes.
Telemanuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except Thraxa is the degenerate of the family. Drinking, smoking,
I was gonna say she's got
swearing.
her burner. She's just
Yeah.
hanging
Niobe's just like,
out.
can you not? Put in
Popping
the
a beer
children.
with the metal arm.
Mhm.
Yeah, we stand the cool ant.
Yep.
We
That's
stand
what
the
I
cool
aspire to
ant.
be, honestly.
Yeah.
My nephew told me one time he liked my purple hair, and now I can never change it.
No, you gotta do it.
Downsides.
Yeah. But yeah, and then we get the beautiful little dinner and all kicking around, and the two boys, Pax and his little friend,
Oh my
fighting
god,
over who
Balder.
gets to like serve
Yeah.
serve Victra. Like talk about the
It's
other
like
cool ant. It's like no.
it's the Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner like
With
cloud
the
of
heart eyes.
fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hard eyes and then the cloud of fighting between them.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah, and
man.
then
And then Balder's just standing there and she scares the shit out of Victra.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know that we get a whole lot of kind of the dynamics between the, like, those two characters, but it is kind of an interesting note that they've, like, kind of set up middle school to be like you go with a pack of multiple colors to, like, learn about culture and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's a way better way to do it.
Yeah. Although it is kind of funny that, like, it's like being the principal's kid, like, you end up with your friend because, you know each other, so you're still in the same class.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really cool concept that they have of somewhat, it's kind of the first little bit we see of what is changing in society to further this idea that golds and reds and everybody else should be equal.
Mhm.
Like, what does that actually look like? Because that's the thing is Morningstar ends in a place that I think a lot of science fiction books end of like, great, we
We
took
won.
down the tyrant. Yeah, we
Mhm.
won. And this one kind of picks up from this place and we'll start to see the struggles.
What you do
But
after you
what
destroy
is
it.
yeah. And so that little bit of, okay, hey, at least, our schooling system now is going to include everyone and we're going to start getting like the Reds will start getting the education
Mhm.
and learning from each other is kind of like it's a really cool concept. And just that little one of the little pieces that you get that okay, society is changing. It's not just the hollow words of we can make this better.
Mhm. Well, semi non-hollow words.
Semi non-hollow. Yeah, we'll get into that in a
Guys,
bit.
are
But
we running through each of the POVs, like, to the end of this section, or are we gonna switch between?
Ooh,
I
that's a
would
good idea.
suggest that we do like stick let I don't know, what do we think is best? I feel like stick to Darrow
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
and
think so.
then do Lyria, right? Like do them
Yeah,
each so
Yeah.
that because I don't remember where they split of like, hold on, we gotta talk
yeah,
about Lysander before you go back to
yeah.
that.
Can
So
we
Me
let's
getting
not?
to any
do
Lysander chapter, like, God damn it again. But yeah, from, like, this little intimate moment with Mustang, like, we go straight into, like, Lyria and the camps, and, we could hold
yes.
off.
Yeah,
Let's
for sure.
Yeah.
mm,
Let's just play through what's happening with
yeah,
Darrow and then we'll go into, as you say, the true what's actually happening out there outside of this perfect little
Yeah.
yeah.
We get a
family.
little gardening visit with Dancer.
Mm,
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, Deanna and Dancer having a little gardening date.
yep. And the alliance between Darrow and Dancer is officially broken due
Yeah,
to, like,
friends
his
off.
actions on out in the rim, abandoning the sons out there for the cause, and Dancer kind
Yeah.
of no longer believing that that cause is the correct path, and
Mhm.
Darrow just again being stuck in what he perceives to be his own duty and, like, having to finish what he started. by
Yeah.
by violence
Yeah. So we actually talked about that a fair bit
a lot.
in in Out of Context yesterday,
Mhm.
where Darrow talks about, actually Darrow and Dancer talk together multiple times about Darrow having to be like, he's a good man who'll have to do bad things.
Yeah.
And then, you know, now Dancer has basically disavowed this bad thing that Darrow had to do. Like,
Mhm.
you know, that was how that war was won.
Mhm.
Like, that was the only reason that Romulus was with him. So
Mm-hmm.
Dancer's getting kind of high and mighty over something that Darrow
Mhm.
felt he had to do, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not
we
I'm not stoked
we
about
could
Dancer's.
debate, yeah, we could debate ad nauseum about whether doing a rain on Mercury like would have been the right thing. Um,
Yeah,
but like given that we are not like shown any of what happened with Ash Lord leading up to that, like we can only
yeah,
assume that Darrow was in the right there, even though it was against the vote on the Senate, which is why they're now showing up in the middle of the night to let Mustang know that, hey, we bumped your trial up. Sorry to
yeah,
ruin your family time.
Yeah,
So
it's
we
a
do.
really hard thing, and like I mean, this is any
Mhm.
political standing of that, like who's what is the right route to do this, and if you're gonna tear down tyranny, like Dancer is very set on we have to fix Mars
Yeah.
before we keep going on, rather than, well, no, we have other people to free. And it's this back and forth that you see in many cases, even like in current day, of what actually is helping, and do
Mhm.
you complete the job of removing that evil force from everywhere, or helping the people you've already attempted to start helping. And it's a very, I think, difficult thing
Yeah.
that we don't, us as the reader, does not have all the answers. We only see we don't even see Mustang's point of view at this point. We only see Darrow and what he opts to do. Like, so we don't know even if she advised on any of this, if what she thinks.
Right.
Just that, this is her husband, and unfortunately he's also, like, the two of them are two hands of the society.
Mhm.
the
Yeah, and
Republic,
obviously, like,
hopefully.
The Republic, yeah.
Pierce doesn't have the overarching knowledge to like solve all world wars.
I know.
Otherwise, otherwise we
Get
would
it
have done it.
together, Pierce.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
yeah,
Pierce,
it's
solve
one of
all that
those that
problem.
it makes a lot of sense that like both sides of it of you need to help the people at some point, but also if you let this ideology persist, it's gonna just rear its head back around, which
Yeah.
we're getting rallies in Columbus by certain groups that are not
Mhm.
eradicated. So like it's that
Yeah.
time is a wheel or whatever the quote is.
yeah,
Yeah,
If
for sure.
you gotta make it stop somewhere, and that unfortunately requires a lot of bloodshed in this certain circumstance.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very
Um,
difficult.
yeah. We also see Darrow getting court-martialed,
Yeah,
basically,
Mhm.
for his actions,
and
and
the coppers being looking out for number one,
yeah, they
because we
they
like, we
abstain
went
the
into
vote,
this
don't they?
assuming no, they go with the Vox. The Obsidian abstains,
Oh yes, yeah. Sorry.
which basically loses it.
Well,
Yeah,
So
we
yeah,
have a
exactly.
we
lot of
Yeah,
roll up.
focus on
yeah.
this
We've
one about the Obsidian, like Sephi sitting, Queen
Mhm.
Sephi sitting there, in which you would have thought, based on where we end with Morningstar, that she would have the backing of Darrow, and you get throughout this that he's starting to lose the Obsidian.
So
We'll find out at the
here's where we
end of this
gotta.
section that it's because they are the ones, they're still seen as monsters, that like they are the ones that aren't really getting the equality that everyone else has, and they're the ones losing the most amount of lives,
yeah,
being
they're
that
Head to the war
the
machine.
physical, yeah.
yeah, exactly. They can't run a war machine without obsidians to basically lubricate the gears.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty evident, like, when they come back from Mercury that, like, Sephi's out at this point, just with all of the massive losses in the rain, that, like, that her turncoat doesn't come as any kind of surprise. The Copper's
Yeah.
kinda going against, "Oh, yeah, we had this, gentleman's agreement that we would vote with you." And then we get, Julia Albalona, who is somehow still alive, despite having not eaten for 16
Man.
years.
Yeah.
Yep. Subsisting on spite.
Yep.
Yeah, seriously.
Rolls up to basically throw a pie at Darrow, and reveal his grand lie that they tried to sue for peace right before the Iron Rain.
Something that Darrow has hidden from Mustang, we learn,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because she is absolutely furious about it. And yeah.
Yep. So then, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm in agreement with Darrow that, like, it was a trap and that they're
No, for
just
Oh,
using
for
sure.
sure.
as a rest period, and then everybody just buys into it because it's been 10 years of this and everyone's sick of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I feel like actually we talked about this in Out of Context yesterday too.
Mhm.
Dancer being like, it feels like Dancer's being very naive about
Yeah.
the whole gold peace talks. Um, we know that the golds don't quit ever, and
They would
they're
never
suing
they would never
for peace.
willingly give
Yeah,
up their
like
power.
exactly, and so
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is interesting that you see that of Dancer of all people trying to trust the Golds. And it's like, you're the one who, and I mean, to be fair, he did spend a good portion of Sons of Ares trusting at least Fitchner. But for the most part, like, you're the one who knows like how terrible these golds are. Why would you now go back and decide, to do it? And obviously, again, there's turncoats like Mustang, who we've learned to trust. But for the most part, like, it's interesting that it's the golds who say you can't trust the golds. And
Mhm.
all the other colors seem to be the ones that are like, oh,
They could
no,
be
I
different.
bet you, yeah, they could have changed.
Yeah, 10 years out
yeah,
of 710, they're
yeah.
different now.
Which
Yeah.
I mean, like I guess it kind of says something about the Republic that
Mhm.
the low colors are willing to see the golds as able to change,
Yeah.
Hmm.
but and then it's the golds that don't see the change or
Mhm.
don't
Yeah.
accept the change,
Yeah.
even though really it's most of them that are doing the changing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting dynamic there of, what is maybe going back to what they've always been taught. And so falling back to habits of like the golds maybe do have the best interest for us. And we, that kind of sub somewhere in their psyche thinking that, rather than the golds always being fully aware of what happens in these politics and what happens over all these years and all the family dynamics, and how does that play out on a grander scale, that the reds and even the coppers maybe
Mhm.
don't necessarily get, of this is how it's always been, this is, they've been kept in the dark for all of that, and so they don't understand that it is a cycle.
Yeah. It is. I just, went to the section, like, where they're doing all of the vote, and it is like the coppers are going with the Constitution, and instead of it being like a feelings motivated thing like the Reds are, and the Vox is just like angry about this, being lied to, whatever. Publius's whole thing is, um, you've overstepped, Arch Imperator. You've forgotten the oaths you made to serve the people. Propose a vote to remove Darrow of Lycos from high command, and it's very much like, we set this up, and you have to follow the rules, and you didn't follow the rules, rather than just being angry about, the loss of life and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's definitely a different mentality coming from other colors.
yeah, they're very much like these are the rules that you were set to follow. You did not, hence bad. rather than
Yeah.
just
rather than like believing that Gold is actually suing for peace.
Yeah.
Like it's not a question of whether it's correct or not. It's a question of, Darrow, you do not have that authority, and you're behaving like a Gold.
Yeah.
And just assuming the authority and assuming that you can, drop a rain and it'll be fine because you're the hero of the, hero of the Rising, the hero of the Republic, and
Yeah.
there won't be any repercussions.
Well, I think is it Dancer who says something about you starting to believe your own myths.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the scene in the garden before the trial, the court-martial. So yeah, so we end Darrow's sections with the Howler meeting, I think.
Which,
From there.
is a very cool. We get to see who's still kicking around.
Mm-hmm.
That we have most of our crew is still there. We've got,
Get some new Howler faces.
We got some new Howler faces. Yeah, we've got Alexander
and Rona.
Arcos. We got Rona. So we've got some reds in there. We've got some of the classic gold. We've got Victra is still there, even though we assume she's not going on these raids because she is 7 months pregnant with her 4th child.
Yeah.
Her 4th daughter, no less.
4th daughter. And then, there's Holiday is still kicking around, and we'll get to talk about Holiday a lot more in a moment. But we also get, and I wore this t-shirt, the Pegasus Legion.
Yep. I was going to wear mine,
seems...
but unfortunately it was not in the load of laundry that I did. Damn it.
Come on, true Howler mode is wearing dirty laundry.
Yeah. Well, it would be like 3 times wearing it dirty. So
we can't smell you from here.
This is true.
Yeah, nobody can tell if your laundry is dirty from the internet.
Yeah.
How would they know?
We do get the other than this conversation.
The titular Howler's Den, which I think Salem posted today.
Yes.
They have a skyscraper that they took. Like, this is ours now. We live here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finders keepers.
It's definitely Howler energy.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Much Howler energy.
And like, could you think of a better like home base for them other than like a dingy cave?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, but we do learn that they have lost quite a few during the last Iron Reign.
No names specifically, I think, in this one.
No.
Yeah, no named Howlers.
Yeah.
No previously named Howlers, anyway.
That we know of, seeing how during the Glittering Gala we learned that at some point June died. Who knew?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Rip June.
Who knows who else Pierce has just killed off and not told us about?
Yeah, assume if they don't come back in this trilogy that they are probably dead.
Yeah, that's what we've learned.
No, they're just off being domestic, no longer participating in the war. It's fine.
Yep,
they're all good.
They opened a restaurant.
They went to therapy. They changed.
That's it.
Whoa. Let's not get crazy here. There's no therapy in space.
No therapy in space. But we did learn Clown and Pebble are married and have, I think it says kids.
How many? Sorry?
I don't remember, but a few. Yeah.
They've got at least 2.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned plural kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they're getting their little cute domestic life rather than the last time we saw them was drunkenly at the wedding. But there is kind of seeds that are being sown throughout this scene of not as all well. We assume somebody has broken alliance, I guess, broken promise of keeping
trust,
broken the trust, that's good wording, of and knows that Darrow did not accept the peace talks,
and then leaked it to the Senate.
Yeah,
or leaked it to Bologna.
Yeah, what's the quote is like, okay, who talked and show yourself so we can stab you in the spleen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and Darrow makes the comment about no, it was nobody here, but then his inner thought is, I know it's somebody here.
Yeah, it was, I trust everyone here, and then it goes on to say that no, I actually don't, because I have I can't. obviously.
Yeah, and even Victra says, okay, well, what's this next mission? And he's like, I can't tell you that because that makes
if
you
you're not coming,
compromised.
if you're not coming, you're not knowing.
So you get kind of
Yeah,
those
it's
seeds are
actually
being
Victra
sown there.
who's like, who snitched? And Severo's like, we'll stab you. I love them.
The ultimate
That's
team.
serious Barca energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we do get to see that, you know, there something's happening there, even though they seem to still be the Howlers that are loyal. Something's going on. And we see, so the reason they're meeting is so that Darrow can leave via Quicksilver's ship in the middle of the night. And even with that, not everybody opts to go. So Victra had never said she's going, but she's 7 months pregnant. She's holding her stomach. It's probably with her assumed that she was never going, but she got to be part of the conversation at least. And she gives the sad eyes kind of to Darrow of the, like, clearly, like, you're taking my husband away from his kids.
Like, don't let him die.
Yeah.
I will never forgive you.
Don't take him, for one thing.
Yeah.
And Darrow's kind of just like, I can't not take him. Like, it's not possible.
He won't stay behind at this point.
Yeah, and he basically says, I could tie him and leave him, but as soon as he broke out, he'd be on the next ship out.
Yeah.
So
and
it's not
Holiday. It's not just like Holiday
it's not just
staying behind and and he says to her, protect my family, and we, that's always how I read it, is Holiday. I mean, again, we'll have the conversation of what she saw just previous to this.
Yeah.
But
and my sovereign will have need of me.
Yeah, that she is loyal not just to Darrow but to the Republic, and for her, I think a huge portion of that is, Mustang
and like the experiences on the
and the
ice,
kids.
like, back in Morningstar.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see the difference in how Holiday treats Mustang now compared to when they leave Phobos.
Because she's seen that, like, Mustang is, like, committed to the the cause and is worth supporting.
She's now diehard.
Yeah, drank the Kool-Aid, as it were.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the departure of the Obsidian.
Yes,
and
that
that
Steffi is
chapter,
not
like,
going, and
it's pretty.
and then, like, it ends with, like, Darrow being like, "Yeah, I feel somehow as if Ragnar's spirit has finally departed, and it leaves me without his protection as the Valkyrie depart."
Yeah, we get a very interesting where, because Steffi calls on the, like, my spirit and my brother talk through me, and he says no, pretty much, and Darrow gets to self-reflect of, like, what would Ragnar say to this? Like, where are we in all of this? Would Ragnar have still backed me, or would he have also seen that we're now just using the Obsidians as we said, war machines? That would he have at some point said, hey, I'm still not, this isn't freedom either. Like, you get that very interesting callback of kind of Darrow self-reflecting through the eyes of Ragnar, which I don't think we really ever see that in the first trilogy of Darrow doubting himself to this capacity.
And I'm of the minority who has not been able to finish Dark Age yet. So I'm kind of wondering of, like, is this some sort of foreshadowing of, like, all of the stuff that we, like, proceed down on this path through Iron Gold, and, like, what all happens in Dark Age, like, is in fact the wrong path.
Yeah.
Because of kind of this moment of, like, Ragnar kind of was the conscience and, like, the hero of the Rising, whatever, in a different capacity to Darrow, and kind of just moving past that gets us into, Severo being Ares territory, like, at the beginning of Morningstar, of, like, just bad decision after bad decision corrupting the spirit of this cause.
Yeah, that's a great call out there.
We also see Darrow, that Darrow believes that if Sephi didn't have the entirety of the Obsidian to take care of.
Darrow.
He believes she would come with him.
Mhm.
Yes.
Like it is correct for the individual, but maybe not for the
An entire
collective.
color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that she's now making the decisions for everybody, which you see that reflective. Darrow's currently making the decision technically for all the howlers. And that's where you get that, like, Darrow deciding to go, is Severo deciding to go, is, I don't remember. Clown goes for sure.
Yeah.
I think they both
Was
go.
Pebble?
Yeah, they kind of briefly argue about it, and I think it's basically they both go.
Yeah, because Clown's like, Pebble, stay with the kids. She's like, absolutely the fuck
Yeah,
not.
fuck that.
Yeah.
That's howler energy. We love it.
Yeah.
I love her.
Yeah.
She's my favorite of like the minor howlers.
We are big
Yeah,
Pebble fans.
Yeah, we were talking a while ago that I think Pebble and Clown are like the most major of the minor howlers.
Yeah.
Like
We
they
still don't
have
know
the
their
most.
names.
No, we'll never
As
know their
it should
names,
be.
but
Yeah, what's the point?
But they're the ones who are named every time the howlers are there. They are
Yeah.
named. Yeah.
Yeah, Pebble, Crown, and Screwface, I think are the holdout three,
Yeah.
and Screwface is back on Mercury.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where we wrap up with Darrow in the first.
Yeah, it's
Bad?
dramatic
Yep.
ending.
Yeah, things are not going great in the Republic.
And that the warrant for his arrest is officially out, and we will deal with those repercussions, which are not great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
we,
that's a rough one.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
and then
Right.
we
Yeah, and then
switch to Illyria.
And we just get a giant whirlwind of different shitstorm.
Yes, a much more, so I would say, as we're, seeing, I think it's almost a direct parallel if you're seeing Darrow as in Gold Life still.
Mhm.
He's still in that upper, and maybe not Gold Life is at this point the real world, but that top class.
Mhm.
They're still the upper class. They are the ruling class. Now we're thrown into
The mud,
the
literally.
Reds as literally mud, literally what is a refugee
mud and
camp, and
blood
is
and
now a
bugs and
refugee camp thrown into absolute hell again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I have like
What I-
some notes from reading that like Illyria is really hard for me to read because of just the level of anger there, but also that anger is completely justified.
Oh yeah.
And it's like it's a very interesting point of view to include, um, because there's so many like similarities to like current events that we just kind of like, if you're not in in the shit, then you are able to put the blinders on and not think about like the individual experience of what happens when you destroy government or start a war to take back territory that you think you own. um and that's like it makes this half of the Red Rising like hit differently because it is so much more grounded in like actual like human experience that sucks.
Yeah.
So like Iron Gold is like harder to read just because it is so much like more real, um real, and not as much of the escapism that we got in like the first half.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
like
we're not
we
just
get that
following the.
immediately with Lyria.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Literally just, we are not gonna have a good time is the last of my note. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were like so first read through, what were your guys' thoughts about Lyria just in general? And how have they changed doing a read through? Like a reread?
Yeah, I remember just like really not liking it because I was, so used to being in Darrow's head, and like we start out with him and I just wanted to know where that was going, and then we like switch pace and she's like the first one up, so there's like a level of like, why are you here? I don't care
Yeah.
about you,
Yeah.
that you get. But like having, gotten 30% through Dark Age and having Red Iron Gold, like your perspective on her does shift once you like accept her as a, autonomous human separate from Darrow.
Yeah.
It would be kind of interesting to like read the books, like these two 3, following only like the single POV to get their whole story at once,
Yeah.
rather than the segments.
Yeah. Mine is an interesting, and it's hard to maintain to just these chapters.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in these chapters, I liked her. I got her. Because, yeah, we see that anger. We see that what's happening. Someone, when we were in Out of Context, kind of related her to Darrow in the first round, but as, like, in Red Rising. But I would see her more almost as an EO, except for my differencing being that EO didn't actually know there was something out there, or she did, and whatever. Like, rather than Lyria knows, she has that information provided to her that there are people out there living much better lives than she does. And so that anger that with EO, I didn't see as it was justified, but her actions I didn't feel as connected to. Lyria, I got, and I understood that, like, it's happening worse, kind of, than what we saw in Red Rising, and where her anger is pushed, and especially within this, like, that, she's now not just pulled out of the mines, lost her mom, but in these chapters loses the whole family other than the nephew. And then, so when she goes after the Telemanises, especially at the end of like, I deserve better than this. Like, I got it, but we'll see as we move into this book, she almost lost me, because then she ends up being, we see at the very end of this chapter, and we'll work through it a little bit better than I'm currently doing. But she ends up getting to go with the Telemanises and being those chosen people. And some of the things that happens, and some of them are in her control and some of them are not, I just couldn't get behind that. Like, you left everyone else who is still in turmoil, and obviously you're not going to stay if you get the choice to. But having that little bit of privilege should have almost taken a bit of the edge off, and I never got that.
And not to say that somebody like coming from that level of like disenfranchisement like doesn't get to stay angry, but like
yeah, for sure.
The privilege in my experience says like be a little bit more grateful that you got out.
Yes. That's exactly it. She's allowed to be 100% angry and grieving and all of that. But just the level that she's at, I'm like, okay, honey, look around you.
Yeah, like it's very difficult to read her POV from the, first chunk of this book.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting of how I continue on and whether or not I stick to that, or if I, this time round, having read Dark Age, and if she's in Dark Age, we'd like to do our, we don't know. Having a little bit more information and things, what my view is this time. And we know from my last reread of Red Rising, I totally flipped on EO, that I never liked EO, and I suddenly did, and maybe this will be a case of a similar thing where I'm like, actually, I do like you the whole time.
Yeah, I keep seeing the like notifications from the Iron Gold like chat of people complaining about her narrator though, which is entirely valid.
Yeah.
For the audiobook version, I mean. She's probably like my least favorite performance of this book.
Yeah, not to say that
other than Lysander
bad,
reading chapter titles, which just drives me up a fucking wall, but that's not the quality of the voice acting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get Lyria, who is, our red refugee in a refugee camp in the shit for 2 years, having been abandoned by the Sovereign. Just all she has is the, her sister and the couple kids and her one brother that is still there, because the other 3 are off in the Legion, and
her
dad
one
who
half of
gave
a father.
Yeah.
If that. We also get the direct parallel, which neither Skipper or I had realized until yesterday during Out of Context, with Darrow and his family having supper, and it immediately flips to Lyria and her family having supper, and like we said about, you know, Darrow kind of living the gold lifestyle, and Lyria is obviously living the low red lifestyle in the camps.
There's so much more
And we get to see,
community in Lyria's end, despite the fact that like Darrow has, you know, everything that he wanted.
yeah, exactly. Like they're kind of like, I don't know if they're necessarily happy with what they've got, but they're making do, and they have
Because I mean,
some
in the
semblance
face of what they're
of
going through, like
happiness.
all you
Yeah,
can do is try.
try to find the
Yeah.
good in the shit.
Yeah, and especially her sister, I would say, is a very good example of that, of, you know, having the new shoes and the chocolate and just
And the garlic.
And the garlic.
Garlic in
Yeah,
the
and let's
stew.
just, you know, be thankful that this is what it is and this is where we're at, and kind of just this trying to put on, whether or not it's a true happy face or if it's for the kids, because she's got 4, I believe.
Yeah,
Um,
3 boys and the baby.
yeah, 3 of them we see in that scene, and
4
then
boys and the baby then? Because Liam is the 4th or the 5th.
I think I thought Liam was the 4th, because
Okay.
we
Yeah,
later
but
see
Liam's
that
not
her
the
3
youngest.
kids are around her. Yeah, Liam is not the youngest. But he is not in this scene. He's off in the infirmary.
He's at the infirmary.
But yeah, she at least has that. I think it almost is more related to what we see Deanna doing at the beginning, where, you know, just trying to put on that, you know, we'll make it happen, we'll make it do. This is where it is, you know, that
Somebody has to
maybe
protect
that
themselves.
red, that red mother of, you know, it's okay, we'll make it through.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Well,
I know
and
we
somebody
draw a lot
else.
of like World War II, sorry, a lot of World War II parallels. A lot of it with like people escaping and like
Mhm.
starting a new life, you know, having emigrated out of Europe. Like you just figured out, try not to
Yeah,
traumatize your children.
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm gonna try not to. Crescent knows just brief stories of my family is very involved in bringing refugees to Canada, and I'm not going to dwell on it, or else I will cry. But you're seeing that in everyday life now of, you know, what's happening in Syria is especially the area that I am most familiar with. Of their job is just to escape Syria, and then you end up in a refugee camp in Turkey and Egypt and all these other places. And sometimes refugee camp after refugee camp after refugee camp, where you're just kind of trying to make it by. And it's these ideas of like, well, at least there's something,
You're
and
alive.
you're alive, you're out of
Yeah.
what might be, you know, that actual war zone. But then the refugee camps are not often as safe as we're make it seem. And even to carry on further, sometimes they arrive in these first world countries after being the selected ones, almost as Lyria ends up being by the Telemanus. It's a huge platform, or not platform, but the work that has to be done to get the simplest person out. And a huge thing that happened in 2017, 28, hold on. I forget when it was the huge surge of the Syria refugees, and Canada took in 30,000 is what the government took in. And they brought in all those people and put them in apartment buildings in Canada that didn't have furniture, and just said, well, you're safe now. And didn't
Be
understand,
grateful.
be
Yeah.
grateful, and didn't understand that these are people who do not speak English or French, depending on where they were put, and are now expected to put it on our society. Like, there's a lot of steps that we see now that is clearly there in just the refugee camp. They're not even moving on to how we see Earth or Moon. Like, it's clear, like it's the Earth or Luna is where they're trying to send people at the end. And it's these things that it's like, you just got to put up with what you can, but it's such a struggle. Yeah. And
And
you know, it's yeah.
Yeah, and I guess to bring us a little bit less
Yeah.
less in
Sorry.
reality, which I mean, it's
Sorry.
there's a reason these books are relevant
Mhm.
and they resonate with
And they hit,
the
yeah,
current
hard.
experience. I do kind of wonder, like, when they're brought out, like, are they able to go back and like if any of the Reds do choose like, nah, fuck this,
I wanna go back to the
I would
mines.
rather be in the mine. Like, I know I'm kind of in subjugation and everything sucks down here, but
At
it
least you're
doesn't suck
provided
quite as
for.
much. Or are they like
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
they're pulled out,
Well,
they're stuck because Quick
that's the
is sending robots.
yeah, and that's kind of the thing is like it sounds like they kind of camped. They
Mhm.
made their choice to come out of their mine and to sell the rights to Quicksilver, and Quicksilver sending robots in, and sorry guys, you're shit out of luck.
Mhm.
And according to capitalism, everything runs at a loss. So he's not having to pay out to anybody.
I do appreciate like the little insertions of everywhere that we see Quicksilver's logo, and it is everywhere.
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 Yeah.
Like their house, the shuttles, the guns that the Red Hand come to use to shoot them, like
The
everything
food
is
packs,
got
yeah, like
Quick's hands on it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you kind of almost saw it coming because we know from his discussion in Morningstar that he is a capitalist, and that's why he wanted everything to go down because
Revolution
Quick was seeing it
as
happen.
capitalism.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is
Yeah.
like it's funny that I like Darrow has a comment back in his section of like not expecting that he would be friends with Quick because he's such a, malicious cheat and is always looking out for number one only,
Yeah.
which, is not unsimilar to Darrow, but
Yeah.
definitely like very much a take everything that he possibly can get his hands on kind of
yeah.
mentality.
For sure. Yeah.
Even though he would like to believe otherwise.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note, like, so we see the dinner, and then it all goes to hell as the Red Hand shows up, and you see Lyria and her brother run out in an attempt to figure out what's happening, and her brother just get ripped to shreds.
And we do get
Yeah.
to see Harmony there leading this charge with
Yes.
her just
Yeah.
like continued vendetta against, Gamma,
Yeah.
the root of all evil, because they were, the chosen ones by the master. So they should get punished forever. Um, which is just
Yeah.
definitely a terrible, terrible ideology to subscribe to, but it's one that I'm sure is easy to recruit bodies to.
Well, someone in
Yeah,
Out of
and
Context brought up that I think it was Bold, was saying of,
Mm.
if you can't battle the golds at this moment, you can't actually touch that ultimate evil,
Yeah,
then you're gonna be putting blame and taking your anger out on who you can. And in this case is the gammas.
which is just the whole dynamic between all of the, the tribes in the mines. Like everybody just hates Gamma because they're Gamma. Like, I guess,
Yeah.
but they,
yeah,
it's
and
not like Gamma. They had more resources, but they're still enslaved. Like,
yeah,
if you are
exactly.
in the opportunity to have a little bit more of the shares of plenty, like, it doesn't the lack of privilege for one group doesn't mean that the other group is more privileged, kind of things.
Yes.
Like they're, it still sucks for everyone. It just,
Yeah.
it sucks a little less for them, but it doesn't diminish the fact that it's you guys all still suffered together.
Mhm. Yeah, for
So,
sure.
so Harmony has been on her, 12-year kick of murdering gammas and bombing refugee camps, burning them down, whatever. So Lyria's entire family is separated and unalived.
Butchered.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
awfully.
she goes and gets Liam and, gets at least her one family member to safety. And even in that is telling, because he's at the infirmary, of telling the healthcare workers, you need to get people out. And they're like, no, there's a hospital. Like, we're a hospital. They
They
can't.
won't they won't attack the hospital.
Yeah, exactly. That's a war crime.
Yeah,
That's a
there's
war
no
crime.
Geneva Convention.
There's no Geneva Convention.
And we do find out from them, the yellow that's taking care of Lyria later, that every single one of the medics that was there
Died.
were killed.
Yeah.
No survivors.
No survivors.
Yeah.
And just
'Cause the
like
Red Hand
really
is
like
bad.
brutal murder for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like,
But I mean,
okay, you say you hate gammas. Why are you killing yellows? Like,
yeah,
why are
Yeah.
you're just
even
you've given
even if
the
the
anger an
prosecution
edge.
yeah, even if
and
the
send it.
persecution of the gammas was like just or whatever, you've completely ruined your entire
Credibility, I guess.
justice. Yeah, the credibility of your cause by
You're just a
Killing
terrorist
killing
group
innocents.
outright.
Yeah, now you're just terrorists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, run Harmony over with a Ripwing, immediately.
Fuck Harmony.
Yep.
What a raging bitch.
Yeah.
Honestly, like,
Again, call out
there's
to
many-
Harmony Simp. There's someone out there. Come
somebody
on.
out
Yeah,
there thinks she's
turn on your
justified.
location.
Come on the
Just
show.
wanna
We
talk.
just want to talk.
Yeah. I had another point, but basically, yeah, that. Yeah, it's just a terrible. Everything we're seeing in this is
And then
anger coming
one-
out in the wrong manner.
with the
Yeah.
one shred of hope being Kavix.
Yes.
So
Everybody's favorite grandpa.
Yeah, first of all,
Everybody's favorite,
we see Lyria's kind of her mettle. She's been shot and then sees Kavix go down into the river and not come back out, and she's like, nobody else is doing anything. I have to do
Yes.
something. And
like
wow.
The sunset.
That's a bright Alcatraz.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It might have been better in the dark.
No, you're fine.
No, you're good.
You're good.
But yeah, and then she kind of brushes it off when Kavix says, like, you saved me, and she's like, well, no, we all did it. And he's like, no, all the rest of them said it was you.
Yeah. Yeah, and we get, which, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the first time I read this, and even recently while I was listening to it, I worried for Kavix. And they never say who it is technically, but
Yeah.
because it's got, like, it's at least
everywhere.
a telemanus.
Yeah.
It's a telemanus, and you're like, this is, this is, again, the family that I would say of all the gold families, the Telemanus is the one from the beginning, and at all stage, you just know you can trust. We see that,
Yeah.
like, I don't think we really question, even in Morning Star,
Right.
when we take we take Kavix back hostage. Even then, you're like, Darrow, don't touch Kavix. Like, you're there
how
with
dare
Mustang, being like, oh my God, Kavix. Like, you throughout this, the Telemanus is probably our one stable gold family that you just worship all of them. Even Thraxa being her thrown, like,
I love her.
smoking, drinking self. You're just like, she gets a pass. She's a Telemanus.
Yeah, I would say kind of they're like just the paragons of what gold actually should be.
Yeah. Yeah. And so at this point, I feared the first time for any Telemanus, whoever is in that suit. And even this time around, knowing who was in the suit, feared of, and I knew he would survive. And I was like, no, get him out. We gotta do this.
Yeah, you're
and
listening to the audiobook and your palms start to get a little sweaty.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my God. So then it I think hits so much. That's maybe one of the, Lyria at this point, one of her many good points at this is like, you saved Kavix. Like, we're there along with
Yeah, that's a
her.
large tick on the pro side
Yeah,
of
area.
the sheet. Yeah.
Um, and then we get to see how that relationship blooms when he goes back. And again, another tick pro Telemanus, why I love him, that he takes the time to go find her and thank her and give the medallion, and as well as take the time with Liam, where he gets down on the ground and understands, like,
Let him
true.
feel his head. Like,
Yeah.
it's just very.
Yeah.
You know that he cares about people as people, not people because they're whatever color. They just
Yes.
are part of humanity that deserve
Yes.
to be protected.
And just this, oh my god, the like "you are a knight" speech that he gives Liam. Like, it's just,
It's very
we
good.
love Kavik.
Yes, we do.
Nothing bad ever happens to the Telemanuses ever.
Oh my god. Um, yeah, and we get, you know, even then when they're at the ship, he does the same similar thing when pushing away his daughter to, you know what, I do have to protect this person. And we get the Sophocles moment of Sophocles coming up and noticing Lyria first, but also I just love Kavik's getting down to her height as well. Of like, he understands that he is this towering giant, and I need to lower myself so I don't look intimidating. Like,
Yeah, and we
he's
get
just,
like the favorite line for a lot of people in that whole exchange. Um,
Sometimes it's best if the worlds think you a little mad.
yeah, it's inspiring.
yeah,
It's inspiring what they'll let you get away with. Yeah.
Oh yes,
yeah,
yeah.
Because he comes over and like stuffs the jelly beans in her pocket and cleans the dirt off her pants.
Yep.
Um,
which is the
and Niobe is just like fine, or not
Zana.
Niobe, Donna. Yeah,
Zana, yeah,
like okay, Dad's being Dad again.
yeah,
We
and
are
I
immune
think
to the
no,
rules, I guess.
yeah,
We
which I
also
just love the use of the jelly beans on so many, because this is not the first time. I think we know that Daxo has planted jelly beans as
Mm,
well. Like, it's
Yep.
kind of this now known thing that within the Telemanuses, if they need to pretend to trust somebody,
right.
we can use Sophocles to this level of, we'll root around and make it magic, because we know
Mhm.
Yeah.
Daxo has used this to cave Kavix to his side, and now we're seeing that Kavix does it himself. Of like, I
Well, I
can.
think
It's
when they
another
do it
little
in
parallel
Morning
between
Star, or not Morning Star, Golden
Mhm.
Sun, it happens the first time. I think Kavix does it then too. Like it's always
Mm.
secretly like, just let me do it. I'm gonna get what I want.
Yeah.
Crescent, you go ahead.
I was gonna say it's another little parallel between Darrow and Lyria.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um
I've
they're recruited by
with
Fox.
both, yeah, exactly. Both of them have pants full of jelly beans.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Magic
planted
Red.
on them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so we take Lyria out of the refugee camp, and we're headed to Luna from there
yeah.
because Kavix has to get back to deal with whatever's happening with Darrow.
Yes.
Yes.
Big yikes.
Yes. Yeah.
And then we get Ephraim.
Ooh,
We love
which, I
Ephraim.
mean, if we're gonna talk family though, this is the complete opposite. So the first two we
Yeah.
get is the family dynamics that we're seeing of, b- for the most part, loving families. Like, whether or
Mhm.
not we're talking Darrow and Mustang, their relationship is still strong on some account, even though there's maybe some questionable things being done politically, and Pax being standoffish. But for the most part, they are still a loving family unit. Severo and Victra are clearly a loving family unit, maybe too much. Lyria's got that, or had for a chapter, the loving family unit who's been ripped away. And then we get into Ephraim, who no longer has a family unit in any real capacity and has now pushed away people who maybe could be his family unit.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's a controversial hot take in the Red Rising fandom to not like Ephraim, but at this point in what I know about him, having not finished Dark Age, he is another one that is just kind of difficult because it's really
Not like
hard.
him.
It's really hard to read somebody who is so hell-bent on self-destruction.
Yeah, I did not like him my first read through.
Yeah,
He's just a dick to
didn't-
everyone.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
can't-
I don't really love the way he treats people,
yeah,
but I like his character a lot.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
I get it.
it is kind of interesting to have like a villain as our POV because technically he is not a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, the
Yeah, and
first
we know
thing we
he
see
was
is him
with the
stealing Relic.
Rising.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And we know he was with the Rising, and the Rising burned him. Like, we understand
yeah, it's just the
why
same
he's
thing.
gone through this, but it's just, as
Yeah,
you say, he's such a dick.
same thing with
that I'm like-
Lyria. Like, I understand why he is the way he is, but boy, does it not make the first chunk of this book easier to read.
Yeah.
And it
I
it's
think my second read through,
mhm.
I think I skipped his chapters. Because that would have still been pre-Dark Age.
Crescent's
I
like,
think
you can't, you're not allowed to do that.
That's illegal.
I'm not doing it this time, just the second time through. I just really needed to get the Dark Age, and I think I skipped his chapters.
This is fine.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we get Ephraim, who is our ex-Legion Grey, former fiance to Trig, who
Yes.
died
Nakamura.
10 years ago. My guy, get over it. No. You can't tell
Grief
people to get
never
over
goes
their trauma.
away.
Like, you can't like be mad at somebody for living in their grief, but also like, please take Volga's muffin that she offers you, her olive branch muffin.
Yep.
Like, just
If
That's
I had a
probably
muffin,
my
I would
thing.
eat it.
she's so good.
I love Volga so much.
Speaking of Volga, I believe we have an out of context quote. Did you pull
I
it?
didn't pull the quote. No,
Oh,
I napped
no.
instead. But basically, everyone's saying, I
Everybody
would do
needs a
anything for
Volga.
Volga. Everybody needs a Volga, and we want that on a T-shirt.
Yep.
We could put that on
Yes.
a T-shirt.
10 out of 10.
Absolutely. And speaking of t-shirts,
Good
we
segue.
now have an active Redbubble for Fade to Obsidian. We have
Yes.
I'm here for relationships or spaceships, whichever you prefer. No therapy in space. The logo shirt.
And then the War Room.
Each of the logo stickers, I think.
Yeah.
The War Room sticker.
So any of those that we just mentioned are available on like 37 different products. So we have T-shirts, we have stickers, we've got cell phone cases if you really want. There's a mini skirt. That's what people have been real excited for, is the mini skirt.
Hydro, you're welcome.
Yeah, everybody just wear that to HowlerCon.
Everybody, we got a mini skirt. Yeah, so we do have, so we can, that's what we'll do this week, is I will make a Everybody Needs a Volga shirt, and I will write that down, and when this goes live, we will have that T-shirt live for you.
Beautiful.
Or sticker, or whatever you want. And if you...
This is a Volga Stan account.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
That is correct.
That pen does not work. That one's a stylus.
Yeah, and I guess while we are discussing Volga before we return to the sad boy, it is kind of interesting to see an Obsidian who is not kind of in that militant headspace. Volga's like, yeah, I'm big and I can hold a railgun and yada yada, but she's not not in the military, not one that's like seeking, violence, kind of outside.
Yeah.
She's just like, okay, Ephraim, I want to protect him, so I will come and shoot the railgun. Yeah. Hold the big door.
And that's the thing too, is like, she used to be a docker, but she is
exclusively there for Ephraim.
I wouldn't call her a pacifist, but she is non-lethal at all times.
Yeah, like Syra like makes fun of her, like, oh yeah, you're no non-lethal rounds again.
What's the point of having a killing machine if it won't kill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, the point is, she's trying to live for more, you little shit.
Yeah, man.
Point is, you don't have to be specialized. You can
Yeah.
be whoever you want to be in the Republic.
Yep.
Even if that's
Exactly.
a drunk drug addict who hates everyone.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like that may be one of the reasons I don't like Ephraim, and it took like an entire book to get behind him, is because of his treatment of Volga, and then the treatment of Holiday. That, we talk about the grief. I'm a big thing of everyone grieves differently. Everyone, there's no standard or routine to grief, even though people claim there is. But his treatment of Holiday when they're meeting for Trig's birthday is like, dude,
She knew him
she's
for longer. Like, it was her whole
it's
baby brother.
yeah,
Yep.
Like, you
like,
loved him, but she did also.
yeah, exactly. It's two different relationships, and
Mhm.
probably, yeah, as you say, either she's more or it's equal. And he just treats her like shit, as if, and throws it in the face of, you let him die.
Yeah, you got him killed, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just such a
Like
dick
Holiday.
move that it's like,
Yeah.
no,
Like Holiday hasn't relived that day every fucking day
every
since
day of her
it
life.
happened.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
your grief is not better. It doesn't make
Yep.
you cooler. Like, and it definitely doesn't make you a better man to like be cruel to your, intended sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah, who is also grieving. Like,
Yeah. And just came back from an Iron Raid. Like, she's
Where
in it, and I'm sure she kind of showed up like knowing that Ephraim was going to be a piece of shit, but like maybe kind of hoping that like
yeah,
she
well, I
could get
feel
a
like,
little bit of solidarity, and it was just shat on.
yeah, I feel like this is not the first time Ephraim has acted like this at their
no.
meetings. Their yearly get together.
Well, I wonder how much, because of how she arrives and how she is dressed. So this is when we learn of the Pegasus Legion, and we know she is in military cloak, or like
She's
military outfit with the wolf cloak. It is clear that she is the Reaper's, like,
yeah.
inner
Yeah.
circle.
She's coming directly from the Triumph.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like, let's pretend like she could have changed, but I bet you that she knew walking into that bar that she needed to probably, like, because Ephraim starts a fight, and I bet it happens every year. Somebody is in a fucking fight, and she's just done with the bullshit, and so probably knows, like, I just, because they say of the don't you have a parade, and she says that was yesterday, so
Mhm.
she's still clearly dressed the part.
Yeah.
And my guess is because she doesn't want the bullshit anymore. So if I dress the part, I can push around the people to make him a little bit more complicit. Like, there's probably a little bit of the dramatics on her part of how to handle this situation.
Mhm. So yeah, we have our birthday remembrance of Trig, which is just bad time for everybody involved.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super
And
cheap vodka.
yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Mhm.
Clear
And
liquors.
I know Rocket
Ugh.
would be on a tirade about the LGBTQ, representation and wanting a little bit more than just being defined by his grief, being the only thing
Hmm.
that like marks him as the gay character. Um,
Yeah.
so hopefully he does a little bit more in you know, Iron Gold, Lightbringer, or, sorry, Lightbringer, Red God, to
Yeah.
get us a little bit more, and then obviously if he survives into Dark Age,
Yeah. And
hopefully
there
we get
is
a
that
little bit
of,
better of a character out of him, a better man,
mhm.
rock bottom,
Yeah.
where we currently
Yeah.
are. So
Though he's essentially the living embodiment of the phrase "hurt people hurt people."
yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. That's where that's stemming from.
Hmm.
Um, but I'll also say, of like, I don't think it would be true to these books if not everybody, like, if we just had one happy character,
Yeah.
it would almost then not do the LGBTQ justice of you're not getting the equal of
Mhm.
everybody hurting, because that's what we're seeing at this portion of the
Yeah.
books is
Yeah.
everybody is hurting. And I do agree that it's very important to have that representation. But you know, it makes sense that he's grieving
Yeah.
because everybody in this portion
Yeah,
is grieving.
we are at just the lowest point of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
been in this war for 10 years and everything is terrible.
It's just
Society is not
life is
fixed, like,
fucked.
crime is
Yeah.
rampant, everyone's in poverty, like,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah,
bad.
like the
'Cause we
syndicate
get
has grown
yeah,
massive since the
and
fall
we
of
get a glimpse of
society.
that in, like, Ephraim's chapters of just that disparity of, like, the level of
Mhm.
poverty, like, in Luna and, like, Hyperion
Yep.
Yeah.
specifically.
Well, and it's interesting of you throughout all of this of like, so what has improved? What, so we've seen the mines and through that Lyria part. But even after this, Ephraim makes a comment about I should have just gone to see a pink. And
Mhm.
so it's like, so even within this, the pinks are at some point, and maybe they're now sex workers that work for
Yeah.
themselves and get all their own money back. We don't know what the Pearl clubs in this day and age look like,
Mhm.
but it's still a like, well, there's still that disparity there that the people still regard the pinks of I'll go see a pink.
Mhm.
Yep.
It hasn't changed in that strange capacity. Like we're seeing that bottom of the barrel is being hit everywhere, and some things probably have stayed the same and others have gotten worse. And you know, what does that, as we keep saying, what does that look like to actually fix a society
Yeah. And how do
or
you,
civilization?
how do you deal with that for a decade of, like,
Yeah.
grand
Yeah.
promise of change, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
everything's kind of at this point seems worse
Yeah. Yeah, for
unless you're,
sure.
already at the top of the pile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it turns out the top of the pile is sad too.
Yeah,
Yeah. Gorgeous
because they're
though.
because they're responsible for, like, trying to keep everyone else, safe and finish the intergalactic war.
Yep.
Yeah. That's it. Like, I mean, someone during out of context, not to go back to Darrow too much, but I think the only happiness we're kind of seeing, and it's not that much, we get a glimpse into Victra being like, don't take my husband away again. That the only truly happy seems to be Severo and Victra, but it is a false happiness, but they don't have to worry. I mean, they're obviously a little bit still a part of that top echelon, and but they're not worried about the 18, what did we decide it was, 18 billion lives
Mhm.
in the solar
Yep.
system, in the same way that Mustang and Darrow are. Like, we get that obviously Severo is still Ares and Victra is running Julii Industries, and like they've still got part of it, but they are the only ones that you kind of, and we don't have their point of view. For all we
Yeah.
know, it was hate sex that they had at the beginning. We don't actually know.
Yeah. Yeah. They're actually
Drop your feelings
just
in the rose
trying
garden.
to populate a small village.
That's it. They're just trying to make it work. But
Yep.
yeah, throughout all of this, you're really seeing that family we left on the beach
Mhm.
is not. There's so many cracks,
Mhm.
and it goes back to what Deanna was saying when we see her in Morning Star, no, Golden Sun, where she says, "Okay, you take us out of the mines. What happens?"
Mhm.
Right, and what Dancer says at the beginning of, ask the pinks, ask the reds, are
Did you
they
get to
still.
witness my first crescent bottle lick?
Oh, that was his second of the
Oh,
episode, actually.
Yep.
the first one I paid attention to.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's
This
hard to
this
notice them sometimes.
yeah, this bottle's a little more discreet because
Yeah.
it has this lip and it only drips down right here.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
So you're
yeah, they
welcome.
have the ongoing. Yeah, they have the ongoing. We need to put that on a T-shirt. I've witnessed like a crescent bottle lick. Write all these
Bottle
things
lick
down.
counter.
Yeah.
Bottle lick counter. I like it. But yeah, we're kind of seeing that not everything's coming to fruition as we thought it.
Mhm.
As we thought it was.
But also, like, on the counterpoint to that, like, how much can really be done to undo 700 years of
For
tyranny?
Yeah,
sure.
well,
Yeah, I think
and
if we
while
started this and it
also,
was perfect, it would be like, Pierce, get your head out of the sand. Like,
yeah,
come on.
well, and especially like how much can also be done while you're also fighting a war on how many fronts, like
Yeah.
Venus, Mercury, they're still fighting on Mars, and you have to worry about the rim. Like,
Mhm.
how much
And the
progress can you make when you're actively having to fight still?
And
yeah,
then having your government tell you, like, "No, you're not allowed to keep
Yeah, oh,
fighting."
you're fighting wrong, fuck off.
Yeah. You're doing the war wrong.
Yeah,
We don't like it.
yeah.
Mhm. So, yeah, Ephraim
Old
is like
men talk so young men can die. That's always the
mhm,
thing of
yeah,
politics and war. Old men talk so young men can die. And yeah, it's
they,
what,
yeah. Actually, that's an Arcos quote.
mm,
Um, uh, Old men rage in colder ways, for
oh,
they alone decide how to spend the young.
mm.
that's a much more
But
eloquent point than I'm pretty sure it's like Churchill or a modern day
yeah,
politician
well,
who
yeah,
just
no,
said
sorry.
that like fully. Yeah.
Sucks, go to war.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I'll
so
sit
yeah,
here and
Ephraim is
be rich.
entirely valid
Yeah.
in his kind of
Yeah.
opinions. It's just not fun
Yeah.
to consume.
For sure.
Speaking of
Yeah.
not fun to consume,
Is it fucking
let's talk
Lysander
about
time?
Oh
Lysander.
God.
God, I should have like saved the second one. Jesus, I
I
literally
also
like
was thinking halfway through that we should have done this in a different order so we don't have to end on Lysander.
we can
What, you don't
circle
want to
back to that.
finish angry?
Ugh,
I refuse any of these books that I'm reading. If there is a Lysander point of view, I always make sure that
no.
there's somebody else's after.
Yeah, Salem, like this is solid because we end on Ephraim, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally like I don't annotate a whole lot, but it's like, yeah, I float on gentle waves, call to me, I've been here, but shut the fuck up.
And
I
I
literally
get
like,
it. Like,
shut
this
up,
is the
you
thing.
goddamn pixie is the note.
You pixie ponce.
I
God.
will say, I think the reason we get so angered is because Pierce did, and I think because audiobooking Iron Gold for the first time this time, and hearing the words actually come out, it Pierce did such a good job of this is somebody who for the first 10 years of his life was the ultimate privileged
Yeah.
brat and so was educated in that manner that's genuinely how he like we're filming this the
Yeah.
day after the British coronation
Uh-huh.
and
I
this is
just
how
about
I
to say, yeah.
expect that like
Charles as
Prince
a kid.
William or Charles are
Mhm.
actually talking because this is just and I think then it gets you just want to punch him in the face because you're like have you not turned on the television have you not seen and through all of this like he's pretty good about Cassius, but then also like Cassius isn't painted in that great of a like he's an raging alcoholic, and it's like that's the guy who saved you and continues for the past decade to keep you alive when you are probably the most wanted bounty in the entire solar system.
Mm.
And you just keep fucking shit up, man. Like
Yep.
Which, yeah, like again, another character who is like, it's justifiable that he would be like upset about being a fugitive, like fine,
Yeah.
but also, could you shut the fuck up?
could you
Well, and
shut
that's
the
that's the thing too, is like I don't think he's necessarily a fugitive. Like, he wouldn't be like arrested if he came back.
Yeah.
It's just
no.
like, people kind of understandably are like,
Yeah,
the
like
end
you're
of the
on
Loon
your you're on
bloodline.
your you're on your Rumspringa to like learn how to be a better person.
Yeah,
Please do your homework.
yeah, and like,
Like he's like,
arguably,
I'm
you're
gonna I'm
learning
gonna
from
be
one of the best
worse.
people to learn from,
Hmm.
uh, because we had that serious flip from, you know, Prince of the Golds
Hmm.
to,
Mm.
The meager
rising
belongings of the
sympathizer.
man who could have ruled Mars.
Yeah,
Yeah. And we see in this, like, to get my anger out of the way, Cassius he has changed. And like we see that
Yep.
especially in the scenes where Lysander goes and his concern is the gold.
And
And
meanwhile,
when he comes back, Cassius is like, what about all the low colors?
Yeah.
You
Yeah, there's
just
like
like,
these
what the
30
fuck did you
people.
do?
Yeah, you let them die so that you could have a little bit of your pride. Like,
And Kat, we talked about this yesterday and out of context, but the interesting thing to me about that is this isn't Victra or Mustang or Cavex, who is a gold who has been alongside Darrow's journey. Cassius is, sure, he knew Darrow in the beginning when he thought he was a gold, turned and hated him for all of Morningstar, and all of Golden Sun and Morningstar. They're only really real interactions. Cassius is still a prisoner.
Yep.
Like, he was not indoctrinated into the Rising. He is not sitting there living all of this through. He had some brief moments and then said, you know what? I can kind of buy in. And so we don't know whether or not in the last 10 years he's exiled, so we assume he has not been talking to them, but maybe he's watching the holocams.
Yeah.
Oh, we know
there's
he's
a line
watching the holocam.
He got really drunk
because
when
we have a dented bulkhead.
Right.
Because he found out Darrow and
married,
Mustang got married. He got super drunk and
I think you or
whacked his
Salem made a
head.
comment about like Cassius being over it a couple episodes ago. I'm like, no, Cassius is definitely still in love with Virginia.
Oh yeah.
He did not get over it. But yeah, so like these first couple chapters changed my opinion on Cassius a whole lot more than anything that happens in the original trilogy, because he's like he's everyone's at rock bottom, but he is doing what he like feels is correct and that aligns with new values, and like that's just such growth for him, where he is like concerned with protecting people, and like they've been playing pirate, saving people and busting runs or
reverse
whatever.
pirate even.
Reverse pirate,
and like that's
the Robin Hood.
That's the thing for me is like he is actually acting with the honor that he believed, like that, like true honor, like he is behaving according to his beliefs. And
Lysander is like pretending God, I like actually like went through and underlined like every instance of Lysander like calling out his pride and like it's his responsibility to protect these people. Like it's not like you should be doing this because you right. It's every other page. Because you're like motivated as a fundamental, if you're you're being, not because you're a gold and you're superior. And that's how you should be. Like fuck off. You're the worst. I hate Lysander. And I guess like part of it is like Pierce has done a very good job to make it punchable.
Oh yeah, like he's written really well.
You can hear it in the change in voice. And it's a thing that I noticed, especially because I am not a big fan of flowery writing where we drop an allusion or a simile every other sentence and you tell me the vibes of how everything feels. And so like most of the characters that Pierce writes are like, it's very, here are the details, here's what it looks like. It's very cinematic, like detail oriented. I'm going to tell you what you are seeing. Whereas a lot of authors in like the, fantasy genre or like adult fiction, whatever, go into the, the vibes. We're just going to tell you how you should feel. And that's how Lysander reads. Like the increase in the number of metaphorical like insertions is notable. And it makes Lysander just like fucking annoying. So I do appreciate like the, as always, hats off to Pierce's writing. And the ability to like make him important to the story and invested in like what's going on out there, but also like I'm annoyed every time I get to it.
Yeah, as I say, when I read through, I refuse to end on a Lysander point of view. I'm like, and the next chapter, please. And I don't care if the next one's like depressing. I don't care if like whatever.
Just
It's
as
like
long as
no,
it's not
no,
Lysander.
I'm not going to bed after reading about Lysander. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I was trying to get through like the first round of 4 and like started Lysander's chapter and was just getting sleepy. My eyes kept closed. I was like, "Yep, I'm just gonna give up. We're gonna pretend we stopped at Ephraim. We'll get to you tomorrow. I'm not doing this." But
Yep.
but anyway, I guess we should
All right. And we should
suspend the
actually
road to Lysander. Talk about
Well, yeah, I
Yeah,
was
there'll
gonna
be
say no,
several
just
more
right, but
episodes where this is basically the
this
whole
is
theme.
discussed.
the rest of Lysander.
Well, okay, so we brought up Cassius, who is, I would still say, you know, he's not as much of a dolphin fuckboy as we've seen in the past, but I still wouldn't take him home. He's
Yeah.
still not like great to be
I would
around,
like have
especially in
dinner with
this
him
point.
now.
Yeah,
Like
but
Morningstar
like,
Cassius, like I would not approach you at the frat party, like
mm,
and like wouldn't go on a date, but like I would go to dinner with this Cassius.
yeah,
Wouldn't go home with him, but I would go to dinner.
Wouldn't go home. Okay, yeah. But it is interesting there. So family being our overarching thing, they are their own found family of, they're the last remaining, other than technically Julia of Bologna still exists, but they are the last remaining of both of their houses, I believe. Yeah. Thank you, Crescent, for the nod. That's all I look for. Crescent's approval. And so they are their own found family. And as we say, like, so they are in exile. And
Does he know that his mom is alive?
I don't know.
Oh, Cassius?
Yeah.
He's got to.
I
She's
assume so.
got it.
Okay.
If
But
she's
not
showing
mentioned,
up in
but-
the Senate, she's probably somewhere
Okay.
on the holocams.
Yeah.
And we know he watches those.
Yeah.
Poor boy.
Yeah, so it is, but they're found family of,
God, I
the
love
two of them
Pytha.
together.
Blues are the best.
Oh, and Pytha.
Oh, yeah.
Pytha is their Orion, Pytha.
Yeah, Pytha is very
I
much
didn't know blues could be
similar
sarcastic.
to Orion.
Every blue we've met, sarcastic.
The kids are
Oh, maybe not. Got Palace.
Hmm.
yeah.
Holloway's pretty snarky
But-
too.
Oh yeah, Callaway's snarky as fuck.
But yeah, we got
Yeah.
Pytha, their Pytha, and then the two of them in their janky ass van on their road trip through the stars.
Yeah, the riding the jank Winnebago.
Yeah. Hey yo. How accurate that is.
Wording of it. Oh my god.
Oh boy.
All right, it's going on a t-shirt. Space Winnebago.
Space Winnebago. What was the other one I was writing down? Oh, Crescent Licks.
Yeah. So
Now
yeah,
just-
we are out here in asteroid territory between the rim and the core, hiding. Having gone to be altruistic and pick up a distress signal from a random hauler.
Yep.
Which I'm sure was
Yeah.
like Cassie's being like, we gotta go save
We
some
need
hoes.
money.
We don't have any engines. We gotta fix the boat. The bumper's falling off the Winnebago.
Mm-hmm.
The bumper is falling off the Winnebago. I love that.
Both
so
batteries
much.
are out of juice.
Oh god.
And like the
Stop
one
We
way
need
charging
an
your cell
oil
phones.
change. Yeah. Yeah.
Unity reference.
So yeah, we roll up at the Vindabona, which has been raided by
Ruined.
cannibals. Hooray.
Yo, okay. What are they called?
Askamani.
Askamani.
Askamani, right?
Yeah.
Am I saying it right?
Eaters
I
of
forget
the dead.
every time. I'm like, the pirates. And I was the one person in the den. There was a question about the Escamani, and I was the one who's like, I'll be an Escamani. And everyone else was like, the fuck? What is your issue? I'd be a pirate.
Like pirates, yes, but eating people higher
Okay,
on the
fair.
to-do list.
But we've learned that not all of them are cannibals, because it's like a shocking thing in this case of like, oh, these ones are the cannibal ones. So
These
I want to
ones
be
are
a
the ones who, like-
non-cannibal Escamani.
Yeah, these
Escamani?
ones survived the Dark Revolt and went to space and drank the space Kool-Aid.
I'd like to know if they existed pre-Rising. That would be an
I think they
interesting
did.
thing.
Like, because
Yeah.
it's I think stated that they're like remnants of the Obsidian who survived the Dark Revolt.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then as like the rising, like the Obsidian got
Mhm.
disenfranchised from it, they're like, we're gonna go look up our, our legends. And so
Yeah.
they joined with whatever Askamani fringe groups were out there.
This is just part of the world building that I enjoy.
Mhm.
Of like, I mean, even in today, we forget that pirates still exist,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it's just to me an interesting because we are about spaceships as well,
Mhm.
not just the
Yeah,
relationship.
we do get some cool spaceships in Lysander's section.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, and that portion is just interesting to me of like who's out there in
Mhm.
the fringes of
The cannibals,
Problems.
space.
apparently.
Yeah.
Problems.
Problems.
Yeah. And
Lots of
we
problems.
do have precedent for like the Obsidian turning to cannibalism, like with the eaters on the ice.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
This is
Yep.
apparently a cannibal.
Yeah. And like I think it is kind of set up that they are intending to feast on Redacted. I don't think we get her name in this section.
No.
Because she's like held separately.
Yes.
Like they're probably gonna eat her so they can, go send to their gods or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's
Uh,
maybe some of that precedent, and then
yeah.
joining with the people who went space crazy. Hello, dog.
There's two here.
Oh, puppers.
Who
I only
dogs?
see one. We only see one. Oh
Oh,
no,
they
there's
just
two. They're
switched.
just on top of each other.
I do appreciate them
Because
like
one is very
looking
jealous.
through the
Oh,
bookshelf.
Hmm.
yeah, our ghost dogs, as we call them when they come in and out.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's just a really interesting segment that we're seeing this other world, as you were of, who's not in the fray.
Because there are things happening like outside of the war for the core.
Yeah. And it's also an interesting, I think, portion of this where you're seeing that mentor mentee between Lysander and Cassius, of Lysander being the one who goes in and does everything, and Cassius remaining back to speak in his headset.
Mhm. Did I read too far and then forget that I did that?
I don't know.
'Cause I think we get a uh, Lysander thing before we have Summon the Howlers. Yes.
So
Yes, we
we
do.
well,
We get the mask at the very end, and
yeah, we get the
Yeah.
crazy mask, which makes sense
the
of
boarding
like,
by
The
the rim.
fascium.
I want to talk about the spaceships. I wasn't
yeah,
sure
the
if it was the
spaceships.
next
Thank
section or
you.
not.
Let's
Yeah.
let's yeah. Um yeah, so we get kind of the rescue and the him saving the gold over everyone else, and the cursing out of Cassius and what that looks like. And then even within that, Lysander lying of he knows that her, I forget what it is, but she's got it covered up,
Yeah,
and
Human
her
she is in
scar.
fact a
feelings.
peerless scar. But
Oh, res
what is it
flesh.
called? The res flesh.
Yeah.
And she is a scar, and Cassius says, does she have a scar? No, she doesn't. Okay. And then the signal gets picked up, and he immediately is like, you've lied, she has a scar, because that
Yeah.
means she is somebody.
So I had completely forgotten, like going into this, like why Cassius is panicked, and it's
Yeah.
because of the Raw, because he was involved with the killing of children and
Yeah.
Romulus's dad. Completely forgot. Like Lysander is fine. Like he could be a loon out here and it wouldn't be a big deal, but it's like Cassius specifically is the one that needs to hide.
Well, yes, I would say yes. I think in my mind also Lysander has aged 10 years.
Yeah.
When you are 10 years old to
Mhm.
20 years old,
It's a lot.
it's a
And like
lot.
because I think the Rim like still hates the loons just by, merit of Rhea being a thing.
Yes.
But
Yep.
like they wouldn't like on site Lysander.
No, I feel like they would hold him for captive. That's where I
Yeah.
think all of this, it's like, I think Cassius is the exile,
Yeah. Cassius
unless
would
he ends
be
up
off site.
wherever his mom is.
Mhm.
Um, Though I do think Cassius could probably return to the Rising, because of when we saw them last, it was a peaceful.
Yeah, they
I
parted
mean,
as
I think
friends.
it was Mustang was like, if you ever come back, I will stab you, but like, we're not gonna try to kill you immediately. Like that like
Never.
he makes a like pledge to like never come back.
Oh,
I think at like the very end of that, like before they go on
yeah.
it to Adria's ship and all that. Unless
Yeah.
it's fact
Oh,
checking me.
but then they also,
But that's like that's
they shake
Mustang
hands almost
specifically.
6 years to the day after they meet and part
Mhm.
as friends. And
Yeah.
like Darrow gives Cassius Julian's ring.
Yeah. Like I think
Like,
like Darrow and Cassius are fine and he would be able to come back to the Rising, but like it's Mustang specifically is like if you come back here, it's
Yeah.
don't.
But I think overall, and who knows what's happening last decade, that Cassius is probably hiding for different reasons.
Mhm.
yeah,
But it's with Lysander, it is you will be taken hostage and used as a bartering piece. It doesn't matter that it's 20 years from now. You are a bartering piece. But it's all, sorry, 10 years from now. But he's now 20 years old. And from the age of 10 to the age of 20, you have hit puberty.
Mhm.
You have, like, who knows which side you're after. Like, are you an Arcos? Are you a Loon? Like, who knows what's happening there. But when we get the very violent masking of Cassius, it's because everyone knows what Cassius looks like. Like
Mhm.
a
yeah.
22-year-old to a 32-year-old
Not a whole lot.
basically looks the same.
And it like the Rim definitely has still that vendetta very
Oh
fresh.
yeah,
100%. Oh,
yeah,
yeah. But I think anyone who's taking is Cassius's a large bargaining piece who's recognizable. It's the Harry Potter when they disguise Harry, right?
Yeah,
Where they put it on the whoop,
the
things.
uglification potion.
Yeah. But so Cassius has got the insane mask that
And
they've
like
got to fully like,
yeah.
and
Damn.
even
that whole
they're
scene,
out of
like
Sims, like
that I think
fuck,
that
man.
specific scene cements my respect for Cassius. Like it kind of got lost at the beginning of Red Rising, and he gets a little bit back like to the end of Morningstar, but like the fact that he was willing to like commit to like keep them safe and like
Yeah,
Yeah.
go through that like actual torment is laudable.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like
And
Pytha's
he's
like, you
got a lot of
can't do
bravery
this
and
without
strength to him.
Sims.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he's like,
Yeah,
fuck
that's
you,
it.
watch me.
And like then you compare him to Lysander, who's like, I want to save the gold because it's my responsibility. And then you have Cassius being like, I can't put these people in danger, and like I will go through literal like flesh searing pain to prevent them from getting tortured. And you just like look at the honor of one versus the other, and you're like, why are you like this, Lysander?
True honor versus the honor of vanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's his face in the, like, you get that Lysander has to fully restrict, and it's clear that they've had almost a basic conversation. Either this has happened before with Stims, or a conversation of if it has to happen, because they know which Lysander's like, this hold, and he's like, nope, I'll break your arm. It's got to be this hold.
And
Like,
he still fractures Lysander's arm.
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Boy's been lifting in
Lysander's a
space.
bitch.
Yeah. He is not up there with the highest bone density.
No,
no.
he's got little birdie bones.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I also find it fascinating, even so it's just before this, of the hiding of their boxes.
Hmm.
That
Yep.
you're gonna put them in the vault, and and Cassius is so clear. And knowing, so it's clearer to me that in the back of Cassius's mind, how quickly he makes those decisions,
Hmm.
this is something he has thought about every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of
This
These
is
are
a
respect for
people
that.
who,
plan.
the razor, the shield they have on it is not going to
The
work.
rings they carry around their necks,
Hmm.
Yeah,
like
everything
he's got every
goes in
detail
the vault.
planned.
Yeah. And it's just kudos. I'll give We'll have to bring Dram on so we can have once again a fight over Cassius, but this is a moment where I will give Cassius full credit.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Well,
like the fall of the Prince of Mars honestly is like just it's very compelling of a character arc, and like watching him have to rebuild himself, like his development in this second half is pretty excellent.
Yeah.
I don't remember like what section it is that we're gonna get to it, but like the later stage Cassius moments are very good.
Well, this is kind of where so we've
this is
completed the
basically-
4.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about the
Yeah.
spaceship?
Oh yeah, spaceships we got to talk about. We
Yeah.
never talk about the spaceships.
So we
There's-
got Archimedes
there's
is
just
what,
so
like an
few of
old
them.
Ripwing?
I know.
Old
Yeah,
the
Ripwing or
Archimedes?
something?
Yeah.
Uh,
the Archimedes.
Zephos class frigate, I believe it is.
Yeah, 300 meters or whatever.
Well,
50
how big it
meters.
is.
so we get that
50
one.
meters.
And the Vindabona is basically just like a giant Rubik's Cube floating through space.
Is that the what is it in Star Trek? Is it in the Borg? Is it a giant Rubik's Cube in space? Is that a reference? Pierce, is that a reference?
Should
Trekkies,
ask them.
let us know.
Make this a reel. Tag him.
Yeah, it's the
call.
Vindabona Rubik's Cube, a Star Trek reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Archimedes is shaped like a rearing cobra head.
So I imagine it's just like the hood or whatever.
Yep.
Wings.
This is one of very few ships that actually have artwork on the Red Rising wiki.
And it's Ganymede docks, right? Or no, Venusian. I don't remember.
No, the Archimedes is Ganymede Industries.
Okay.
Or the dockyards. Of
Yeah,
Ganymede.
it is like interesting to think about the ones that are meant for like interstellar, I guess interplanetary.
Well, that's what I'm
non-interstellar.
thinking of.
It's
Like
they don't have to conform to gravity because they're not going to deal with it.
we
So they don't have to like land.
I feel like we need an actual scientist because I am. Listen, my high school
Not.
marks in science are.
I'm a
probably
chemie,
should have
not a
failed,
mechanic.
and
I don't
probably should have failed, and a teacher felt bad for me and gave me a 52. So it's like
sigil.
Yeah, I'm a chemie. Yeah, I got nothing for you.
Does space have to deal with aerodynamics?
No.
So they could be like any fucking shit. Okay.
There's no
literally
friction.
the cube ship flies just as well as the rearing cobra head.
Yep.
Cool.
You just have to like meet relative velocity of whatever body you're trying to meet up with, but there's no like
right.
Friction. There's no therapy or friction. In
There's no therapy or
Yep.
friction. Or
Cassius.
Geneva Conventions.
we
Fuck,
can
man.
just throw it all into the vacuum. It's fine.
Yeah, so okay, that's like fascinating to me that all these ships could be insane because we do see my favorite part of Morningstar is there is a full like one that's a sail ship, like a sailboat, and it's like that wouldn't sail. Like what the fuck are you doing?
That one of
but
Quig's?
No,
like,
it's
no, it's one of the refugee gold boats.
Actually, I think it's one that Mustang says like taught her to ride a horse.
Yeah,
yes,
like Fleeing Phobos though.
Yeah, it's the Fleeing Phobos. One of the golds is a sailboat, a true sailboat. But it's like that wouldn't work. Gravity. Yeah, but a sailboat is not actually aerodynamic if you're going too fast. You have to be with the wind. But if you're in space and aerodynamics does not matter, then you can have a fake sail. Yeah. But yeah, so that's just interesting to me. Of
probably like a big solar panel.
Yeah, the giant.
Honestly.
But yeah, and then the rearing cobra. That's a really cool image.
Yeah.
And then we get the Ra ship coming in like right at the end with its
Yeah, oh yeah. How do they describe it?
Someone's I follow his eyes out to the distance to the viewport, out the viewport to the large seemingly benign asteroid in the distance. Shadows cloak half the asteroid. The shadows stir. Something moves in the dark distance, streaking out from the bowels of the asteroid. It comes into space like a black eel, squirming its way from the recesses of a dark sea cavern, flowing out of shadow, eyes glinting in pearly menace. This eel is not made of flesh and blood. It is made of metal, painted black, and marked with a three-headed electric dragon on its sides. It is a warship. Dun, dun, dun. So we know the Ra have come. They have the
The
best,
Ra
like,
have come.
the best house sigil.
Yes, absolutely they do.
I feel like that's it.
We
If
love
we're
a
gonna
Hydra.
like align if we align ourselves with a house, like a family, and just based on sigil, I'm going Raw.
Yep.
Julii,
Ra.
like I'm a big Victor stan, and so I'm doing my Howler jacket as like a Julii like jacket.
Ooh,
Theirs is like a weeping sun with a spear through it,
right.
and having now like found an art to like put on the jacket,
Oh,
I'm
did
like,
you? Please share
yeah,
that.
it's gonna be great. I'm doing it for Hazard Bedlam, so I'll like probably have to wait, but I'm very excited.
I mean, like, please just
That
share
was a big pour.
the Julia.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm kind of like
artwork.
making it up, but like it was
Yeah.
very
Okay.
cool what I found. I'll send it somewhere, probably Violets or something. But
Yeah.
the vibes are very good.
Yeah, but the Raw are the moment I learned about the Raw.
Because I'm picturing like
fuck yes,
like
dragons.
Japanese dragons
Yeah.
with like the big snarling mouth and the
Yep.
the whiskers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the many feet. Not like a Western dragon.
No, I think it is very Japanese, Chinese, like Eastern.
Yeah. Oh,
the
100%.
floating.
100%.
It's
like,
gonna
we
do
don't-
that rather than the Western dragon. That's more of our like what we would consider conventional of the.
Is this a never-ending story
Yeah.
reference?
No,
dragon?
but hang on one second.
You're allowed to spoil just a little bit.
We don't learn about it in this section, but we do learn that the Rim is South African and Japanese.
Yes. Yeah. It's just
So
cool as fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, it is.
You don't know, like, through the door. So people watching sometimes see a little white outline. That's a door there. Alcatraz didn't get the talk of what you're seeing is not what's going to end up on YouTube. There's two different cameras happening on me right now.
He's a professional.
Oh, wow.
I'm a professional here.
With my like bad lighting.
I forgot to turn on my second light. If you're worried about lighting.
Okay.
Wow. I know. Through the door is an entire bookshelf based on dragons.
Excellent.
And so like this is my jam. Even when I learned in Morningstar, just that little tidbit of how they're the house dragon, I was like, fuck yeah. And that was
cool as hell. I love them.
I have a great tweet from Pierce that I have screenshot somewhere where I said something about what's going to happen. Basically what's happening in Morningstar. And he said, the dragons of Ra are coming. And I was like, sorry, not in Morningstar, in Iron Gold. It's the dragons of Ra are coming. And I was like, fuck yes. And if you've seen the Glittering Gala, you know I put up a question about that, but
yeah, we do also get like one other like mythical monster mentioned with the Charybdis.
Yes.
The Greek equivalent of the Kraken. There you go.
Yeah.
Kraken is dead or alive.
Yeah, so Lysander
Schrodinger's
section
Kraken.
lining the Vindabone and Cannibals
Oh.
and saving Redacted. That's all that happens out here.
Yes, and I think we did a great job of just focusing on Cassius.
Yes, who is
Hell
like
yeah.
the important part. Like Lysander is just he's a
Truly.
vehicle for me to look at Cassius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is a Cassius transportation device.
Aren't we all while on vacation? What? To the Rose Garden.
Yeah, get out of here with that shit. And Fade to Obsidian.
Yeah. All right. Final
I think that's the end
comments,
of
thoughts. I think that's it. So final.
We are all a vehicle for Cassius. Goodbye.
You could drive me any day.
Thank you for watching. That's really it.
Yep. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Stroking Cassie's
Check out-
ego.
Yeah, join us in the den to talk about our stamps.
Joining us in the den. Check out our Redbubble. I'm gonna put some pictures up so it looks like I'm pointing at things real fast.
Also,
Okay.
check out the link to the Glittering Gold Gala if you have not. It is now public and available to watch at any time.
It is, and does contain spoilers for the whole series. So if you're only following this and have only read up to where we are, don't watch it. But also,
or watch it, but do so at your own peril.
I was so good about spoilers today.
Hell yeah!
So you watched Glittering Gala and have not finished Dark Age. Was there anything during that was ruined for you?
Also, Kate,
no,
hang on.
I also
Stop.
read the wiki.
We're gonna stop the recording.
Let's finish it, and then we're gonna